Go down, rotate. Give me 1 second. Welcome, 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 everyone. We're trying to resolve a small problem. Okay. All right. I apologize for my um, Facebook fans for being late today. We had a little technical difficulty, but we got it resolved. But the conversation that we need to have today, and I can't put enough emphasis on that, is dealing with something that a lot of people don't realize they have. This time of year, a lot of people associate depression with the fact that um, lots of individuals don't have family and friends due to different circumstances being distant from them, having lost loved ones to death, and that's something that a lot of people don't know how to deal with. But coupled with regular depression and being undiagnosed, many people have so much stress. Life can be very stressful, and we're not sure how to cope with that. That's a difficulty that we deal with every day. So often we're lost within the circumstances of things that we can't control. People go through so much every day, and we are struggling sometimes to ask for help. A lot of us have lost loved ones around this time of year. And for those that celebrate holidays, it's particularly hard for them, not wanting to burden others with what they're going through, yet missing the ones that they would ordinarily draw close to. Um, and many of us, it is the anniversary of the time in which we lost those loved ones. And it's very hard. But one of the things that a lot of people don't realize that they've gone through and been going through for years, well, coupled with these other things, um, it goes undiagnosed. We call it the wintertime blues when it's really seasonal affective disorder, which is you get a chemical imbalance. Scientifically, this is a term for it. It's called SAD, or seasonal affective disorder. And it's more than just being glum. This is the time of the year that more people lose their life at their own hands. Often because there are so many things that have happened within their life and other stresses that come up that they don't get help because of what it looks like to others. Many people culturally will discourage people that really need help by a psychiatric professional because of what they're worried that that person will disclose. They're more concerned with it drawing attention to them and their personal shortcomings than they are that this person can be in deep agony, not realizing that there might be something that has absolutely nothing wrong with them. I say this a lot. If they had problems breathing, or they develop an illness that was making it very hard for them to have wellness and quality of life, we would not discourage them to go get professional help. An emergency room, start seeing a physician. But culturally, many people forget that some things can't be just prayed away. As a matter of fact, one of Jesus' disciples was a physician. So it is that we take the time to our parent with our parents. We often view them as someone who they're strong. They raised us. So they couldn't possibly need psychiatric assistance being depressed when they do. Our children, we think that they're being overly dramatic or they're just depressed because, and it's something passing, and it may not be. Oftentimes, we look at people and we assume that based on their personality type, that we know whether or not they will attempt to harm themselves. Well, they're just doing that or saying that for attention. Sometimes attention means they're trying to let you know that they need help. They're trying to let you know that they need help. It is an act of strength to decide that you can no longer cope alone with what you're dealing with. It is an act of love to decide that we will encourage them to get help rather than dismiss what's going on with them and try to just talk them out of bothering you with conversation that you feel is non productive. Not being able to fix something yourself does not make you a weak person. Realizing that you need someone to assist you or your loved ones is not an act of weakness. It's not. It's a true act of love to say, if you need to go to the doctor to see someone, let's go together. Trying to make someone feel like that they'd be wasting their time, they'd be wasting their money, rather than trying to find resources to get them help. In the wintertime, it's the hardest season for a lot of people because they're not getting the vitamin D from and the bariatric pressure changes. All those things affect your chemical balance. Not to mention all the things that happen. We often forget too those that have lost loved ones this time of year or who have had huge losses. We forget about the people who they've been struggling with having children and they had multiple miscarriages, or people whose children they were born and they were full term and they lost them. We often think that that's gone, that's been years ago. Yet they still grieve over that. It was still hard. They planned a life for them. They had good intentions. So those things cross their mind and occasionally weigh on them. Those that have lost parents, those that have lost adult children, those things don't get easier. Those who've lost their mates, and now the whole structure of their life has changed. No, they don't always need someone to cry on, but they do need someone to lift them up. Grief can become a sort of prison, and it doesn't mean that they don't deserve to or need to grieve in the way that they want to. But we don't want to decide that because they're sad, that we need to give them space in the mindset that we'll just avoid them, because doing that also brings on its own level of pain. People, so they start to distance themselves, and we don't recognize that as a sign of depression and that some forms of treatment, not just having psychiatric assistance, but occasionally dropping by just for conversation. It doesn't have to be about their sadness, but occasionally checking in on someone just to see how their day is going, letting them know that you were thinking about them, even if it's just inviting them to go to the local Walmart with you, just so they can have company. Sometimes we isolate those people accidentally because it's uncomfortable for us. It's a strain for us. Also, let's not forget those who are raising families that are neurodivergent, meaning they may be on the spectrum or they may have other mental health issues, they may have ADHD. It's not easy, and it can be very self isolating because of others not knowing how to cope with what behaviors or things that you're dealing with daily, trying to aid your family to have a full and productive life. What eventually happens is that it's not easy to make friends or maintain friendships because of all the things that you have going on. So you'll they accidentally intentionally isolate themselves so as not to burden others without realizing they're making a box. And a box has walls, sides to it. But the problem is, if you sit it on the wrong end and it's sealed up, it doesn't let anything or anyone in. So, with that being said, take the time to check on loved ones. And if you are someone who's struggling with that and you recognize the signs of depression and that heaviness sometimes where you can't even identify what particular thing that you are sad about, the number 988 is there for you to call if you don't feel like there's anyone that's off work right now, or you feel like they're dealing with their own things, and you don't necessarily know if you're going to harm yourself, but it feels so heavy you don't know what to do, and you don't have a local elder from your congregation or anyone that you feel like you can trust to talk, that number is there because it is a crisis number. You never know when letting someone know that you care or just calling on them, check on them, dropping something off you cooked or something extra you bought at the store and you thought about them can make the difference in letting someone know that they do mean something to you, that their life isn't purposeless, that they're not a burden. At least we also remember our elderly parents who sometimes get that feeling that the only time will come is if something's wrong or you can't not come in to check on them. They need to not feel like they're a burden. Many people forget and think that they got through all the stages of their life. And sometimes that's not true. The numbers are surprisingly high amongst them and they don't want to ask someone who has a personality in which they don't get along with because that person has decided to take their viewpoints as personal when it's literally just their viewpoints. They're not trying to hurt you. It's nothing to do with you. And even if it does, a lot of times they feel like they don't matter. We want to continue on with their lives. So rather than be a burden, some of them will self harm with the intention of ending the problem that they're causing. Let's make sure this season that we are kind and considerate to those who are struggling, and to make sure that we understand that getting help for them, for our children, for our friends that have been lost and sad and struggling, and we inwardly know, but we feel that we'll give them some time to get over it, that we decide that we make them know that they matter, not with gifts of presence of our time. Let them know how much they mean to us. And if we are struggling personally, getting help. It's okay to take time for you to be okay. Thank you all for joining me in the room. I hope this was useful. If this was useful, make sure that you pass this information along to someone else that may be struggling. Even if it is with a message attack, hashtag you are loved. Have a wonderful night.